Hey, my name's Izzy. This is Rolling Virtual Cards coming at you with another Commander deck build. This time, we've got Glorfindel, Dauntless Rescuer. I just call it Scry. I should call it Bad Scry. This deck's not good. He's not a good commander. Let's jump into it. Glorfindel, Dauntless Rescuer is 2 and a green for 3/2 legendary creature elf noble. Whenever you scry, choose one. And Glorfindel, Dauntless Rescuer gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Glorfindel must be blocked this turn if able, or Glorfindel can't be blocked by more than one creatures each combat this turn. So, I guess the joke is you can choose both. So if you scry twice, he becomes a 5/4 that must be blocked this turn and can't be blocked by more than one creature each combat. So then when you hit someone, they had to block and lose one creature. I guess that's kind of the joke. To be fair, I don't even know who Glorfindel is. I love Lord of the Rings. Couldn't tell you who he is. So down below, let me know who it is. And if you like Glorfindel, or if you hate him, hit that subscribe button. Glorfindel will love you. He'll be your friend. And who doesn't want an elf noble as a friend? Why would you want to run Glorfindel? Well, the answer is normally the same with a lot of University cards. You really like this character, but there's an issue with Glorfindel. I won't believe you if you say he's one of your favorite characters. On the elf lord's brow sat wisdom, and in his hand was strength. Yeah, no, not at all. Glorfindel's a nobody. I don't know who he is. You probably don't know who he is. If you do, he's a nobody, or he did something super cool and amazing that, doesn't matter in the long run. Or it does matter. Who the hell knows? I don't know. I don't know Glorfindel. Do you know Glorfindel? I mean, taken by the card, whenever you scry, which is looking into the future or gaining an advantage, Glorfindel, Dauntless Rescuer gets +1/+1 until the turn, which usually means some form of his elves or other elves looked ahead maybe to give him an advantage. And then he can either must be blocked this turn if able, so you on purposely go into combat, or he can't be blocked by more than one creature each combat this turn, meaning he avoided them or single targeted one guy. And if you did both, then you target one person and took him out. So this is you came in after your scouts told you which path to take, right? Cool lore, not a good card, not a good commander, because sorry to tell you this, there's not a lot of scry in mono green. So yeah, this let's just get into the 99 guys. Arbor Elf is 1 green for a creature elf druid, and you tap it to add to untap target forest. Birds of Paradise is 1 green for a creature bird, and with flying, and you tap it for 1 mana of any color. Elvish Mystic is 1 green for a 1/1 elf druid, and you tap it for a green. Fainthorn Elves is 1 green for a 1/1 elf druid that taps for a green. Llanowar Elves is 1 green for a 1/1 elf druid that taps for a green. Destiny Spinner is 1 and a green for a 2/3 human. Counter or creatures for a 2/3 enchantment creature human. Creatures and enchantments spells you cast can't be countered. 3 and a green. Target land you control becomes an X elemental creature token with trample and haste until it determines where X is the number of enchantments you control. It's still land. So far ramp, and then this one just stops them from countering your creatures. Lothlorien Lookout is 1 and a green for a 1/3 elf scout, and when it attacks, scry once. This one is least repeatable stealth, or scry. You can attack every turn with it. Trigger its effect to trigger Faindel's effect, so that way Faindel can at least do something. Ornithopter of Paradise is 2 generic for a 0/2 Thopter with flying, and it taps for any color. And Priest of Titania is 1 and a green for an elf druid, for a 1/1 elf druid that taps for 1 green for each elf on the battlefield. Sakura Tribe Elder is 1 green for a 1/1 Snake Shaman that can be sacrificed, and you can go grab a basic land and put it on the battlefield tapped. Azusa Lost But Seeking is 2 green for a 1/2 that allows you to play 2 additional lands each turn. Burnish Heart's 3 generic for a 2/2 Elk that can be a 3 generic. Sacrifice it and go find yourself 2 basic lands and put them on the battlefield tapped. That was my alarm. Circle of Dream Druid. Dreams Druid is 3 green for a 2/1 Elf Druid that can be tapped for 1 green for each creature you control. Eternal Witness is 1 and 2 green for a 2/1 Human Shaman that, when it enters the battlefield, you can return a card from your graveyard to your hand. Stop it. My cat's been scratching at this window for a while. I don't know why. Farhaven Elf is 2 and a green for a 1/1 Elf Druid. Dude, knock it off. Farhaven Elf is 2 and a green for a 1/1 Elf Druid, and when it's the battlefield, you may search the library for basic land card, put it in the battle tap, then shuffle your library. Realm Walker is 2 and a green for a 2/3 Changeling. As Realm Walker enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. You may look at the top card of your library any time, and you may cast creatures of the chosen type from the top of your library. I will pay my cat tax now. Here's my cat. She probably just wants to hang out with me and is making noise for that, so we'll just hold on to her for a little bit. Realm Walker's here because most of your deck is elves. Reclamation Sage is 2 and a green for a 2/1 Human Elf, and whenever it enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 artifact and enchantment. Cool interaction. Rishkar Pima Renegade is 2 and a green for a 2/2 Human Druid, or Elf Druid. When it's the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures, and each creature you control with the counter on it gets +1, or can tap for a green. This does technically buff your commander, which is an awful, and gives you some more ramp. Scoot Swarm is 2 and a green for a 1/1 insect with landfall. Whenever land is the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. If you control 6 or more lands, create a token that's a copy of Scoot Swarm instead. You're running landfall in this deck because you don't have much of a choice. Spring Blue Druid is 2 and a green for a 1/1 Elf Druid. When it's the battlefield, you may sacrifice a land. If you do, search your library for 2 basic lands, put them on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library. Tireless Provisioner is 2 and a green for a 3/2 Elf Scout with landfall. And whenever a land hits the battlefield under your control, create a food token or a treasure token. Both good. Tireless Tracker is 2 and a green for a 3/2 Human Scout, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, investigate. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, you put a 1/1 counter on Tireless Tracker. It can get pretty big. Wood Elves is 2 and a green for a 2 and a green for a 1/1 Elf Scout, and when it enters the battlefield, search your library for a forest card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. Beast Whisper is 2 and a green, or 2 and 2 green for 2/3 Elf Druid, and whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. That's just a good draw engine. Okay, here we go. Celeborn the Wise is 3 and a green for a 3/3 Elf Noble, legendary creature Elf Noble. When you attack with 1 or more elves, scry 1. When you scry, Celeborn the Wise gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each card looked at while scrying this way. So he can get big. He's probably friends with Findel. They're both doing the same thing. Findel comes first, but he at least scries whenever he attacks. Whenever you attack with 1 or elves. So technically he doesn't even have to attack. Findel can attack and just get the scry, which is good. Because Findel wants multiple scries, Celeborn wants 1 scry. Solemn Simulacrum, or Sad Robot's 4 generic for a 2/2 Golem, and when it enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land. Put it on the battlefield tap, then shuffle. Whenever Solemn Simulacrum dies, you may draw a card. Okay, she's getting all the hair in my face. Tosuke, Bearer of Secrets, is 3 and a green for a 1/1 Squirrel. This spell can't be countered. It's indestructible. It has to attack each combat. And whenever a creature you control does combat damage, draw a card. And last creature's Orin Frostfang, which is 3 and 2 green for a 2/6 Snake, and attacking creatures you control have Death Touch, which is good for Findel. And whenever a creature you control does combat damage to player, draws a card. Just some good draw cards. Some sorceries here. Nature's Lore and 3 Visits are both 1 and a green for a sorcery that you search your library for a forest, put on the battlefield tapped. Shamanic Revelations is 3 and 2 green for a sorcery. Draw a card for each creature you control, and you gain 4 life for each of those creatures that are power 4 or greater. And Rishkar's Expertise is 4 and 2 green for a sorcery. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. You may cast a spell with mana value 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. It's not bad because it kind of like Glorfindel can get a little big, and then you can cast this. So, Nature's Claim is 1 green for an instant. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Its controller gains 4 life. Heroic Intervention is 1 and a green for an instant. Permanents you control gain history and indestructible till end turn. Return to Nature is 1 and a green for an instant. Choose 1. Destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or exile target cover from graveyard. Good choices. Corrosion Grip is 2 and a green for an instant with split second, which means no one can cast spells after it or activate abilities. Like, it just cuts the stack off. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. And Return of the Wild Speaker is 4 and a green for an instant. Choose 1. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-humans you control, which can be good with Findel. Or non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 till the turn with all your creatures that can win you the game. Now some artifacts. Skull Clamp is 1 generic for an artifact equipment. An equipped creature gets +1/+-1, and equipped creature dies, you draw a card. Equip is 1. This is good because a lot of your office is small. Soul Ring is 1 generic for an artifact that taps for 2 colorless. Wayfarer's Bauble is 1 generic for an artifact that you can pay 2 generic to tap it, sack it, and go grab a basic land on the battlefield tapped. Witch's Eye is 1 generic for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature has pay 1, tap, Scry. Equip is 1. So this is good. This is just another Scry that you can do every turn. That's like, so far, 3 cards that Scry every single turn. That's good for Findel, right? Arcane Signet is 2 generic for an artifact that taps for any color in your commander's color identity. Darksteel Pendant is 2 generic for an artifact. Darksteel Pendant is indestructible, and for 1 you can tap it and look at the top card of your library and you may put it back on the bottom or top. That just means Scry. So it's another Scry. Limbus, I love Limbus. This is one of my favorite common cards. So 2 generic for an artifact. Food. When it's the battlefield, you Scry 1, then draw a card. Pay 2, tap it, and sacrifice it to gain 3 life. And whenever Limbus is put into your grave from the battlefield, its owner shuffles it into the library, so it just helps you with a lot of stuff. I just like Limbus. It's so fun. Lightning Greaves is 2 generic for an artifact equipment, and equipped creature has Shroud and equip 0. Maze Mind Tome is 2 generic for an artifact, and you can tap it to put a page counter on Maze Mind and Scry 1, or you can pay 2 and tap it to put a page counter on Maze Tome and draw a card, and whenever 4 or more page counters are on Maze Tome, exile it, and if you do, you gain 4 life. So you cannot continuously do it, but it is a Scry. Mind Stone is 2 generic for an artifact that taps for colors, or you can pay 1 generic to tap it and draw a card. Tap it, sack, or draw a card. Mirror of Galadriel is 2 generic for a legendary artifact, and for 5 you can tap it and Scry 1. Then draw a card. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature control. You have, I think, like 2 legendary creatures other than Glorfindel, but 4 to Scry in this deck is good enough. Sunset Pyramid is 2 generic for an artifact. Sunset Pyramid into the battlefield with 3 brick counters. For 2, you can tap it, remove a brick counter on Sunset Pyramid, and draw a card. And for 2, you can tap it and Scry 1. So you get 3 draws out of it, but also Scries, which is good for Findel. Because if you can, like, Scry 5 times, it becomes an 8/7. Swiftfoot Boots is 2 generic for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste, and you can equip it for 1. Treasure Map is 2 generic for an artifact. Pay 1, tap it, Scry 1, put a land marker on Treasure Mark. Then if there's 3 more land markers counters on it, remove those counters, transform Treasure Map, and create 3 colorless treasure artifact tokens with tap, sacrifice this artifact, and add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Right? And its other side is a land that taps for colors, or you can sacrifice a treasure to draw a card. Crystal Ball is simple, 3 generic for an artifact, pay 1, Scry 2. That only triggers him once, mind you, but don't you go back there scratching. Stop it. Lifecraft's BC area is 3 generic for an artifact. At the beginning of the up, you try 1, which is really good for your commander, right? Like, again, that's just a useful item. Because each upkeep, you get to Scry. I'm going to make sure my cat doesn't scratch right now. When you cast a creature spell, you may pay a greater if you do draw a card. That's also just useful. Good draw cards. Seer's Lightning or Lantern is 3 generic for an artifact. You can tap it for colors, or you can pay 2 to Scry 1. Sonic Screwdriver is 3 generic for an artifact, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color, and you can pay 1 to tap it to untap another target creature, or you can pay 2 to Scry 1, tap it to Scry 1, or 3 to tap a target creature can't be blocked this turn. Does a lot for you. Panharmonica is 4 generic for an artifact. If an artifact or creature entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers additional time. I put this in here because you do have a few cards that trigger off ETB for Scry, but mostly it's here because you have like a handful of elves that do have ETB effects. The Party Tree, or the Great Hinge, is 7 and 2 green Legendary artifact. This spell costs X less to cast for X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So if you scry 4 times, it costs 2 green. Tap for 2 green. You gain 2 life, and whenever a non-token creature hits the battlefield under your control, it enters with a 1/1 counter on it, and you draw a card. And then a few enchantments. In Search of Greatness is 2 generic for 2 green for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with converted mana cost 1 or 1 plus the highest converted mana cost of 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among permanents you control without paying its mana cost. If you don't, scry 1. So like if Findel's the biggest, you can do a 4, right? But if you don't, you at least get to scry 1, and that's the point. Seasons of Growth is 1 in the green for enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. Whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you control, draw a card. So you don't really get that second one as much, but that's another reason why we kind of run Panharmonicon, because it does trigger this to get 2 scries, 2 separate ones though. Sylvan Anthem is 2 green for an enchantment, and green creatures get +1/+1, and whenever a green creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. Again, good. And Guardian Project is 3 in the green for enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it doesn't have the same name as another creature in your graveyard, draw a card. You control or in your graveyard, draw a card. So again, all 3 of these trigger off ETBs, so yeah, not bad. And your lands, 36 forests, a path, which scries, and then Isolated Watchtower. For 1, you can tap for colors, but for 2, you can tap and scry 1. Then you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a basic land card, reveal this way, put it on the battlefield tapped. Activate only if an opponent controls at least 2 more lands than you. So not great, but a possibility. Not a possibility in this deck, by the way. But so, is this deck good? No, not at all. This deck is terrible, and it's because of your commander. Your commander is just trash. I think Glorfindel is fine in like a blue-green scry deck, where it's a 3 for 3/2. Whenever you scry, it gets +1/+1, and like you scry a lot more because there's a lot more scry in blue, and that's kind of the point. That's where you get everything. Okay, you get everything from doing the scry. But as a commander, there's just not enough green scry. I get the idea, but like, come on, they should have printed more green scry in Lord of the Rings if that's what they wanted to do. If they wanted green to scry, they should have done it. And they didn't give us it. They give us very few cards to scry with. Now, mind you, I get it. They were thinking 60 card formats for the most part. And that's the thing. Like, 60 card format wise, it's okay. It's not good. It's not going to win you anything. But like 60 card format, like standard it was never standard. But this is like a standard card, right? But like in modern, no. This card just never sees play because it doesn't do enough, right? Scry is not good enough a mechanic. So, yeah, like, normally I have a lot more to say about my commanders. Normally there's a lot of interesting cards and a lot of good talks. And like, I talked to you about how like 33% plus is like mint for this commander. But because this deck is a little shy of time, I'll show you. I'll show you, okay? We're going to go to Advanced Search for a second. We're just going to look up Scry. Yeah, Scry. There are 64 cards that scry. Okay? And that's the thing. Most of them are like, when this card enters the battlefield, scry 2. Now, the issue with that is it's not good. Glorfindel needs to scry 2 more than once. Scrying doesn't draw you cards. So stuff like Destroy Target Artifact or Enchantment, scry 2, you might think, oh, that's great. That's one scry. It's whenever you scry. So that 4-drop card gets you 1. So ETBs that trigger scry every once in a while isn't helping, okay? When it enters scry, that's not doing anything, okay? Like, there's not enough. Whenever you scry, put a 1/1 counter. That's cool, but that's not helping Glorfindel, right? Or, yeah, Glorfindel. It's not doing it, right? But, okay, let's fix this. You know, you got scry. Let's do set release. Maybe, no, it's set release date. And we'll go to send. Maybe there's been new cards, right? Oh, come on, there's got to be, whenever a creature you control explores, instead, no, we're not really exploring. Oh, there's been nothing. The newest card, I'm running them, and they were in Commander decks, and then, here, tax, when you do, it can't be blocked this turn. Exhort, so that's every other turn. Okay. Yeah. And instep, that doesn't help. Yeah. So if you want to, you can try running some of these cards that scry you whenever they enter or whenever you cast. And like, cool, that's... But again, it's only a +1 for Findel. Those cards are okay for a different commander. Which commander? He's right here. I've done a deck on him. Celeborn the Wise. Because he gets +1/+1 for until and during for each card you look scrying this way. Right? So like these +2 is at least like, okay, he gets +2/+2 on it because you scry 2 on ETB. That's cool. And if like these were 1/1 counters, the decks would work. If they had made them 1/1 counters when you scried, then yes, they would work. Because then you could scry with these ETBs, get the 1/1 counters, you'd run all this, but they're not. And talking about that is hypothetical and pointless, honestly. So in the end, I don't suggest you build this deck. The cards aren't there. The deck just kind of becomes a pointless blob of nothing. And sorry, Glorfindel fans out there, but I don't have much good to say about him. This is a sad commander to try to run. And he's not even funny sad. So I wish I could do better for you guys, but I can't. If you enjoy Glorfindel, or if you think he sucks, either way, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned for more. Peace.